So we're going to use some images and learn how to replace the sky. So you're seeing my screen and it's small. It is, and by the way, you can go ahead and ask questions in the comment box because Laura and Gail are on tonight, and if they have an answer to it, they'll respond to you in the chat box or whatever the question chat box. And so they may be able to answer it. I will look through at the end and look for questions that they did not respond to and questions that would help the group as a whole. And so if you have technical problems with your Photoshop, I really won't be able to answer those, but more in general questions that everybody would benefit from. So you can type them in now or you can wait, either way. But again, Laura and Gail will be able to help you with some of them. Okay, get out of that and close. Oh, I keep doing that. There we go. All right. So I'm in Photoshop CC. Mine is not really dark. I've changed mine to be lighter, and you can do that in your preferences. Okay. And so I've changed mine to be lighter. I just prefer it to be lighter. I've moved some things around. I do have my history panel open. I'm just going to do some preliminary things here for you so that you're not confused by what you're seeing. You're also looking at my screen on a 13-inch MacBook Air, so it's very condensed. And when I dock it to my Thunderbolt, which is a huge monitor, it's very spread out, but that makes it a lot harder for y'all to see because everything's so tiny. So I do it on the 13-inch MacBook so that everything's bigger for you, but the problem then, the trade-off is everything's very condensed. And so I apologize for that, but it's overall good. Okay, so I'll be using my history panel. If you don't know where your history panel is, go to Window and click on History, and it'll show up for you. I will also be using, of course, my Actions panel. If for some reason you ever lose your Action panel and you freak out and you think, oh my gosh, I lost all my actions, because that did happen to me when I first started using CS3. Go to Window and click on Actions. It's all there, all right? You can't ever lose those panels for good. You'll bring them back up. You can move them around, nest them however you want to. You can customize your workspace. Okay, so I am going to go to my history panel. This is an image that I played with before the webinar started, and the original is that, okay? And I used an action and a sky and took it to that, and I love it, Now I'm going to take a snapshot. It's the little camera at the bottom of the history panel. Every webinar, when I show this history panel, there are always a few that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't know about that. And so I always want to let people know because it is a fantastic feature in Photoshop. And unfortunately, Photoshop Elements does not have it, at least as up to 13. I have to admit, I did not install Photoshop Elements 14, so maybe they added the snapshot feature. But as of 13, they did not have it. But you can take a snapshot, and it comes up here in your history. So here's my original, and then here's my snapshot. Okay, it gives me it's just a moment in time that it captured. So I'm going to come back up to Little Boy. That's the title of the image, and we're going to start from there. Now, when you install the actions, and installing actions in Photoshop is so easy. So when you, there we go. When you first downloaded the set, here it is. You just go into the actions, okay, and go into the one that you, for your particular program, and you just double click on it, and it installs it. It's like magic. It just goes into there. It opens up your Photoshop and it puts it in the actions. So now we have these different actions that we can use, and we will show the generic cloud applicator because elements 12 and older, the magic replace doesn't work for y'all. So, but it does work in 13 and 14. Okay, it does work in 13 and 14. The magic replace, but elements 12 and older, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to use the blown out sky one, and you just click on it and press play. And again, we're going to go through how to do it the old-fashioned way, I promise, but I'm going to show you this way first. Okay, so then I'm going to hit play. It gives us a message, and the first few times you read it, or the first few times you use it, make sure to really read through this so you kind of know what to do. The instructions are there for a reason. They're there to help you. And I will tell you, and I help a lot of people with installing presets or with other problems. And generally, the majority of the time, it's because they didn't read everything. So take time to read, and it will help. Okay. So it says sometimes you may need to paint your cloud overlay where it didn't apply. Use the black brush on the black perfect sky, or perfect sky, whichever you want to read it, layer mask. This will reveal your overlay while still leaving the edges crisp. Okay, your overlay is an image of a sky, and it opens up your Mac Finder or your Windows Explorer, depending on the computer you have. So it's open up my Mac Finder, and you navigate to where your set is that you downloaded. Okay, the Vivid Sky set, cloud overlays, and you're going to go to the cloud overlays. And these are just images of skies. And so just go through and just click around. You can even start at the beginning and then arrow down one at a time until you find one that you feel like that's what you want. Okay, so we can keep going. And let's say we want this one. We're going to hit place. Okay, and you just move it. Now, the thing to know is sometimes you need to make your image a little bit smaller. So I'm going to do Command minus or Command plus. Click and just drag it around, and you can smush it, you can pull it, you can just get part of it. You don't have to use the whole thing. And you can also, if you hold down your Command key or a Control key on a PC, you can pull out and kind of distort so that you get more of a distance effect. I'll do this sometimes. Okay. Actually, I'm going to make a purposeful mistake. All right. So it's going to continue to install there, or to play. Now, notice if you can see that this, where it says black, perfect sky, it's not all black, and the sky area should be all black. This is where you want to start. So the action ends on this layer, and that's perfect because that's where we want to begin. And so you need to use a brush. Okay, this is the brush you should be looking at, just a simple paintbrush, but we need it to be black. Whatever color is showing in this color box on the one on top is the color of your brush. If it's white, it's not what we need. We need black. So just click X on your keyboard, or you can do the little arrows that'll change it. I just hit X. It's a keyboard shortcut. So my brush is now black, and you want the opacity to be 100%. You can make it, if it's lower, just click and drag over it, or click the little arrow and drag it up to 100%. And now we're going to just go over it so that we get all of the sky. So what that's doing is revealing all of the sky for us. Now, I made a purposeful mistake so that you could see how you can go back and fix it. Look, my sky right here, I got a straight line edge because that's where the bottom of my overlay is, because I didn't make sure it covered all of the sky that I wanted to replace. And this happens in real life. I mean, I made the mistake yesterday. So I wanted to show it so that you know how to fix that. Just come back to your overlay layer and hit V for Victor, and click and drag down. Okay, that's all you need to do. And what that did was it activated your move tool, V for Victor, the move tool, and then you could pull it down so that the sky is covering that entire blown out sky. The overlay sky is covering the entire blown out area. So we'll come back up here to perfect sky. Okay. Now, if there is some area that we didn't want it, so see it's showing right here, we can see this straight line. I don't know if you can see it, see that straight line? So I don't want that to show, so I want a white brush. Make it small, and I'm just going to cover it. I'm just going to brush, and it's going to cover it back up. Now, see the little white edge we have? A little white edge? I'm going to come in and I'm going to actually lower my thing down a little bit. And I'm just going to hit the grass with it. Just, I call it kissing it. I'm just going to kiss it a little bit here. Because we don't want that halo effect. That's what we don't want. And it's okay if you kiss a little bit of that background. All right. Now, if for some reason some of it, some of the sky was overlaid on other parts of your image, you can use a white brush. Come in where it says white, recover image details. So if it applied anywhere that it shouldn't have, you just click and brush over it and it will conceal that. All right, but it didn't. I'm just showing you how you just click. I'll show that on another image because I do have some that it will put it over some parts of the image. So plus I didn't drag my sky all the way down. So here it didn't even have an opportunity because my sky ended. But anyway, I'll show that in another image. So now I'm going to come down, and the very next thing that I work with is the gradient, because what that does is it blends the sky in. Because when you look off into the horizon, it always gets lighter the further down towards the horizon it is, right? And we want to create that same effect. And so I'm going to turn this layer on. Now, this one, it's a little bit too, we're not getting all the effect that we want. So I'm going to click on the layer, click on that layer, and come up to the layer opacity. And I'm going to pull it up to 100%. Now, still not getting as much of a fade that I want. So what I can do is just click on the mask. Okay. I'm going to go slow for this. Click on the mask of the gradient. I'm going to hit G for gradient on my keyboard. Now, if what becomes active is your paintbrush or paint bucket, say you use paint bucket last, just click and drag out and click on the gradient tool. And then I'm going to click up here. See if it's like a little plus sign or little crosshairs. And I'm going to click and drag. Whoops. Got to be on the right one. Here we go. Let's back up. Okay. Click and drag. Now, that was too much of one, so I'm going to click and pull down a little bit more. That's a little bit better. And maybe I don't want all of that now. So you want to make sure that you're on this one if you're going to mess with this. And this is the only image of the test images, sample images that I was working with that I had to actually create a new gradient. The other ones were fine. I just increased the opacity. Again, you just click, drag down. And you can keep doing it over and over again until you get what you want. Oops, so sorry. All right, now the other layers to this will only intensify or make cooler or warmer, darker or lighter the sky, not the whole image. So we come up to contrast. You can do that. Saturation boost. Now it's kind of gray, so there's not much to it. We can do a warmer sky. Let's make it a little warmer. If it's too warm, if it just doesn't look right, then we'll just pull it down a little bit. Like that. We can make a darker sky or a lighter sky. You can add a haze to it. Now, all of these, if it's too much, you can always, but you like it, you're like, well, I like that, but it's too much. You make sure you're on the layer that's blue or highlighted or whatever it is on your particular machine, your particular version, and you lower the layer opacity. Or turn it off if it's too much. Okay. So with this one, we went from that to that. I can come to the history panel and take a little snapshot. So now we have this version plus this other version and the original. I'm going to do it again. Let's see. I played with some last night and saved them as PSDs. So I'm just going to open them up. Okay. So for this particular image, it was a lot of fun to play with. It went from before and after. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of these and delete them. Okay. Whoops, misspelled S-O-C. Oh well. All right, so I'm going to come up and play this action again. Okay, so I'm just going to do the blown out. I like that one. It works well. And so I'm going to do this image two different ways. The original way and then with the action and then the original way. So I'm going to click blown out skies. Okay, and then I just navigate to find one that I want. And not every sky is going to work for every single image. So, you know, just play with it. You might start with one sky and say, oh, nope, it's not for me. It's not right. And just start over. Okay, so just pull it, make it work for you. Make my image smaller. Command or Control, I'm going to pull out a little bit. I just tend to like to do that. Smush it down a little bit. Pull it up. You know, you can do whatever you want, whatever suits your image. You can even rotate them. I mean, the sky's the limit. No pun intended. Actually, there was a pun intended, but okay. Don't worry, there we go. Okay, so here we have the sky. Now don't give up on it because remember, you got to tweak it. You got to make it your own. And so we're going to, see there's not all of the sky is showing through. So we're going to use, click on this. Well, again, you're already on it, but say you clicked off of it. Click back on this layer. Now, when you click back on it, notice what happened when I clicked back on it. The box came around the image thumbnail and not the mask thumbnail. You do have to have some knowledge of using layers and masks. And if you don't, there are some very helpful blog tutorials at Pretty Actions on the blog. So go through there and do one. We've done past webinars on layers. It's very helpful. But you do want to learn how to use layers. So anyway, so here I'm on the wrong thing. I've got to click on the mask. Make sure that the mask is what's highlighted. And I need it to be black, so I'm going to hit X on my keyboard. And make your brush nice and big so we can cover a lot of ground at once. Make your time useful here. So we got most of it. Okay. Now we would want to move in and get a little closer and see that there's like a line around the mom and son. See that line? Now that can be tricky. This can be tricky. So I'm going to hold off on that just yet because after we do some tweaks and changes, I may not feel like I need to do it that much. Okay. So I'm going to come down here to the sky fade and I'm going to increase it about like that. So now I don't feel like the mom is really having any highlighting. The sun is a little bit though. We could blur the sky. Now if I do that, I'm going to pull it down some, not blur quite so much. And it's only blurring the sky. It's not blurring the the subject. We can add a little saturation boost. We can do a contrast boost. Sometimes if it's a little too strong, come in and lower it down if you like it, but if it's too strong. Cooler sky, warmer sky. I really like the warmer sky a lot. I think it's a lot of fun. Pull that down. We can do a darker sky, a lighter sky. Okay. Maybe I'll come up and do the cooler instead. Okay, there we go. If you want to do hazy, I'll pull that down a little bit. There we go. So very quickly, we were able to go from that to that. And now I'm not getting the halo as much around the little boy. You'd have to really come in close, and we can just see that halo around him, but I'm really not worried about it. We don't see it around his feet at all, just his head. So we can come in to that layer with a black brush. I'm just going to lower it down. Just come in and just get him just a little bit. Whoops. So we're not seeing as much of this halo. See that? I think that's better. Okay. Now I'm going to take a snapshot. So that's the one I did before. That's the one we just did. And that's the original. Okay. Now, let's do one with just the applicator, okay? Which is the action that will play in elements 12 and older. So it's the cloud applicator action, and you press play, and you come through and you find which sky you want. Let's go with that one. Position it how you want it. If we want the sun in there, I'm just going to squinch it down a little bit. There you go. All right. So now notice that we're not starting at the top of the layers here. We're working at the bottom. And we just have this cloud overlay with a black mask. Black mask here means that it's all hidden, and we're going to reveal it with a white brush. So my brush is white. Do 100%. And now wherever we brush, it's going to show the clouds or the sky. Now the trick about this is that it's going to take more time. It just is. Okay, because you're going to have to come in and get some detail work done here. Now what I would do is create a selection, which is a little more advanced. You see it showing on the grass, so I'm going to use a black brush and hide it here on the grass. And then it got on him because my brush had a feather. It got on it. Oops. See, it can definitely take more time. The magic replace is a big time saver. Okay, so you get the gist of it, right? The reason so much of it is on her and him is because my brush was a large brush with a large feather. Okay, so you see that I hit, whoops. Okay, all right, it's not perfect, but we're going to go with it. So we can still use the sky fade, and it works real well right there. We can still do hazy sky if we wanted to. We can still do a cooler sky, warmer sky, saturation boost. I think I can still see some of it on the grass. Okay, so what I want to show next really quick is the paint a pretty, let's do dreamy color booster. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to boost whatever colors are already in the sky. So if there is some purple, if you've got a sunset picture and there's some purple in the sky, it'll boost that. Or yellows or things like that. So it's not going to boost any yellows because there's no yellows in this sky. But we have cyan and blue. So if I turn it on, there's the boost cyan. There's the boost blues. We do both. Woo! Very vivid. So it might be too strong. So pull it down if you like it, but you want to make it a little more subtle. You can do that. Okay, so that is using it just with the brush. Okay, just with the brush. Now the other way, I'm going to take hopefully no more than 5 minutes to show this other way to do it. And it is with selection brush. And so, or magic selection, however you want. I'm going to create a selection. So I'm using the selection brush. So I selected the grass. Now I'm going to select the mom. Select the little boy. Select the little boy. Okay, so now I have it. And we can come in and refine it a little bit, refine the edge. So I'm going to feather it just a little bit. Create a little more of a radius. And there's some spots missing, and that's okay. I can tweak it. And what I'm going to do is do output. Oh, I meant to play the action first. That's okay. Let me cancel. All right. Control D. Let me play the action first. All right. It's going to play. Now I'm going to come down to my background. I'm going to make the selection. I'm using this quick selection brush. It's looking for contrast. All right, so this one's pretty easy because it's all against that really white background. I don't want that. Okay. All right, I'm going to do select, refine edge. More of a feather. Now I'm going to output selection to a layer mask and hit OK. And I'm going to take this layer mask, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to invert it, Command I or Control I. And I know, just kind of take notes, know that you'll be able to watch this on review with the recording. And I'm moving fast, I know it. So what I did is I created the mask, which selected, because originally I just selected the grass. We could have selected just the sky, but because I did the grass and the mom, I didn't want that. I mean, I wanted that, but I made a selection, and then I did Command I, which did the opposite. So now our mask is everything except the grass and the mom. And I'm just going to click and drag up. It's going to ask me if I want to replace it. I'm going to say yes, and there's my sky. And that's a little more advanced. I'm just showing it for those who may be interested. We don't have a perfect selection, so we need to go in and tweak it. But I'm going to come in first and do our haziness. I'm going to come down to the cloud overlay, and I'm going to use a black brush. Whoops. Lower it down a little bit. And just come in and hit this grass so I get some of, increase it a little bit more. I want some of those little twiggy things that were sticking up to come back. See that? And I need to play with it. I don't have time. I need to play with that right down there. And we'd zoom in a little bit and play with the selection around him and her. We could blur this sky a little bit. So that was the very quick way to do it the old-fashioned way. All right. So I'm going to do one more, show one more that I had done. Okay. So this one, let's see. Come down here. The original looked like that. These were a lot of fun. Now, I'm seeing one area that I missed. Is anybody catching it? It's right in here. So I need that sky to come in. And this is when I did the old-fashioned way, not the, I created a selection. And so I'd need to come in here and get that sky back right there. So I just use a brush and work on that. Preferably not such a soft brush. Okay. I did not notice that last night. Okay. All right. But what we can do is I'm going to come in and delete these layers. And I'm going to take a snapshot, run an action. Oops, I want to blown out sky. Come in and pick a sky. That's the first step, is just pick the sky. Hit place. Move it around. Now this was a good example because her dress is white, it's applying the sky on her dress. So we're going to show how to get that off. Kind of stretch those clouds out a little bit more. All right. Plus, notice that it's very gray, so we're going to bring in the sky with a black brush. Come in. There we go. Okay. Now, because I don't want it on her, I'm going to click on the white Recover Image Details layer. So you need to be on the layer, click on the layer that you want to work on, make sure that that's highlighted. Sometimes you're moving so fast and you think you've clicked on the layer to go work on it and you didn't, and then you're like, what is going on with my picture? What's happening? And it's because you're really on a previous layer. You didn't really click on the layer you thought you did. And so kind of slow down and think about that. Think about what you're doing. So I'm on this one. I need a white brush, so I click X. See, just X moves it back and forth. And now wherever I brush, it's going to recover. So I need her veil. It's going to recover that. It's hard to see where the sky, the old sky is and where the veil is. Not real sure. There it is. Okay. A little bit like that. I think that's good. Okay, and then come down, do that sky fade. If it's not enough for you, increase it, or come in and do the gradient. Make sure you click on the mask, hit G. Whoops, I need to reverse that. Okay, there we go. But again, the original one works most of the time. It really does do a great job getting it just how I want it. And so don't, if it looks pretty good, don't mess with what's not broke. You can always go back in your history. There we go. All right. We can come in with a little bit lighter sky. I think I'll do that. And maybe we'll blur it just a little bit. Just a little bit. Let me click on warmer sky. I like that. See what warmer sky did? It just gave those a little bit of color to it. I like. Increase it a little bit. Maybe I want a darker sky instead. I don't know what I want. Okay, I'm trying to make time for questions. Notice there's a line right here, so we come in and fix that. I can tell there's something funky going on right there. All right, but very quick, we went from that. Actually, that line was already in there. That's just her veil, just outline of her veil. Alrighty. Okay, so questions. This was my favorite of that one. I loved that one. I loved that one. Loved that one. Okay. Questions. I know that went by fast, didn't it? Told Laura I could talk forever about this. Okay. How do you get the various sky thumbnails to show before selecting one? So when I play it, okay, that's a good question. And so let's play the action. Oh, I need to flatten it. Okay, stop. Okay. Okay, so she was asking, how am I seeing the thumbnails? And I believe it's just your view, whatever your view is. And so on a Mac, look right up here. On a PC, it's going to be in the top left corner of your Windows Finder, and you'll have an option. If you click on it, it'll drop down, it'll say thumbnails, list only, that kind of thing. But click there so you can choose thumbnails. But for here, so there I'm not seeing the preview, but right here, whatever this one is called, it's in columns. It gives me a preview, and also I could do it this way. So that was the question. Good question. Because yes, you want to be able to see the skies to pick one. Because you're not going to, there's too many to even memorize what they all look like. So change your view of your folder, how the folder contents are listed, and you'll be good to go. Okay. What layer did I get rid of the halo? So when you have a halo and you run the action, it's going to be on that black perfect sky layer. That's what you're going to use. And that's where you're going to be able to paint in and get more of it and perfect that sky. The girl in the field. Edit. Okay. Oh, yes, I can. Okay, so here's the girl in the field. I did 2 of her. Which one am I looking at? That's 2. And then here is 1. Now save them as PSDs. All right, and so that we could look at them. And so I could save the layers. I'm sorry. So I could save the layers. All right. And we can see the original. So there's before and there's after. And this is run with the action. Now here, I really was fine with the sky how it was. I didn't need to come in and perfect it. But you can see how I did get it off of her because a lot of the sky went over her. But if I had felt like I needed more of the sky, I would have painted on. But I felt like I was pretty happy with how it was. And so I didn't come in and add any more. But you can see how it's not totally black. Notice I always turn on the sky fade. It really helps to blend that in, and we lose a lot of that haloing that you get, so you don't have to come in and work on it. Now, it's still a little bit right there, but we definitely lost it around that. It fades it down so we don't have that haloing as much. Oh, and yes, there were some areas I missed, but in 45 minutes, I didn't have time to be nitpicky about every little thing. If this was an image I was printing, I would go over it with a fine-tooth comb. I would do it. I would put it away, like close it down, look at it the next day. You want fresh eyes because you can miss little tiny spots. So work on an image when you're replacing a sky. If there's a lot of details to it, and then come back to it later with fresh eyes and then look at it again because you're always going to find some little area. I just didn't have time tonight to make it all look perfect. As long as you got the general idea of how to correct the halos or paint on more sky or conceal sky in areas that it shouldn't be, that's what's important. That's what you need to be taking away from this tonight. All of the skies I used tonight were in the Vivid Sky set. All of these skies can be used in any version of Elements. What can't be used in Elements 12 and older is the Magic Replace. But the Cloud Applicator and those other ones that boost the color of the skies, those can be played in Elements as well. So the difference, let's work with this one right here. It's a matter of how it's finding the sky. And this one would probably be better used overcast because that's more of a grayish sky that the action's looking for, whereas this is looking for white. Blown out means it's like just white. And here we have more gray. Okay, so see, it's going to replace gray overcast skies. But it functions the same way as the blown out. So we have the same one. So I'm going to come through and find one. What am I looking for here? Maybe I'll do that. But again, not every one is going to look. So now this one is not working quite as well because there's so much of her dress that is white that is also overcast. But it's definitely not applying it to him. So we won't have to worry about that. So we'll come up here. Like that. Okay, notice in the black perfect sky layer that we can definitely tell that it's getting applied to some areas that shouldn't. And so we're going to use, oops, I'm actually going to use a white brush to do the opposite here, which we could in the other one too. So we could do it in either one of these. Okay, we could take it off in either one of those. Her veil is hard because it blends into the original sky. It's hard to tell. See, I can't even tell. I think that's... Okay. It's not perfect. Okay. Fade it, come in and just do whatever you want to do with that. This one we'd need to make a little bit lighter. I'd have to play with this one a little bit. This guy may not have been ideal. Need to work with his hairline a little bit. So again, it's a lot of times when you're replacing skies, this makes it so much faster. And some will be very easy to replace, and then others, when you have couples and there's a lot of intricate things that or human beings, then it can be a lot trickier when you're working with all those little edges, especially around the hair and skin areas. So you can play with that. But very quick. This one I need to work on that. Okay. I want to get more questions. Okay. All right, so what do we do when we're at, I see that. So let me ask a great question. So what do you do when you're done with, say we're done with this, okay? But I prefer this one. So let's say we're done. So here is the PSD, or the layers, okay? I already saved this as a PSD, but there is an action for that. So the reason I would never advise saying, okay, it's perfect. I'm going to flatten it and save it, and I'm going to print. And then you look at it tomorrow and you're like, oh gosh, I see an area that I missed. Well, unfortunately, if you did not save the layers open, there's no getting back to it. You just have to start from the beginning again. So that is why they have put in a save layers and flatten action. So it will save this as a PSD file with the layers open. That way you can get back into it just like I did all of these images. See how they're a .psd? I saved these as a PSD with my layers open. So when I opened it back up, poof, my layers all came out, didn't they? So we could see exactly what I had done. So in this one right here, you see all my layers. You see what I did. And same with, I didn't do her, him, but this couple. So here you see the layers and saw the mask I created, the selection and the mask. So it pops back open those layers. So you can come back in with a brush and reveal or conceal or tweak as you need to. So we can come in here, actions, save and flatten. So it's going to save it as a PSD, okay? It says to access your cloud overlay layers, simply go to your history panel and click on the cloud overlay layer button to make changes or view your layers as they were. Okay, so then it has saved it, but it has it here, right here. Okay, it has saved it there. Now you do need to save it. So it didn't come up with the file save, but it saved it as a history snapshot. I would still recommend saving it as, let me go back to that again. Cancel, oops, sorry. Where was I? Oh, it's creating another one. Yes, okay. All right, so you need to, it's saying continue, so now we have flattened it. And you could save it as a JPEG if you're all done, and this is what you would print. But you would want to go back to to your history panel, to the cloud overlays, and do File, Save As, and then make sure the format's Photoshop, that you have layers selected, and then I could come in here and do 3 or 4, whatever it was, whatever version. But I just give it a name, and you can just leave it as what your file name is, because the file ending is going to be the PSD, and you won't confuse it with the JPEG. That way you can bring it back up an hour from now, a month from now, and access those layers and work on the little hand, or work on the halo, or work on, whatever you see later, because I said you need to come back to it. Don't ever just do it and go on down the road. Come back to it if there's a lot of detail work.